welcome. We are going to be talking about the Akashic Records today. What the heck are the Akashic Records? Maybe you've heard the term pop up a bunch of places. Maybe you've already read books about it or done courses. Or maybe you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, but you just happen to find this video. Either way, I'm so happy that you're here. The Akashic Records, if you search around, you're going to find probably a lot of different answers. And I think I'm just going to start off with this. I think the reason why that is because we right now are in human form. And I think in human form, there's only so much we can truly understand and grasp. And I think the Akashic Records are something that is not 3D at all. So it can be a little tricky when we try to describe it or think of what it is when we're human. So little caveat to whatever you're reading. Most likely, if you've done some searching, you will find that people describe the Akashic Records as some sort of gigantic mystical library, sort of like in the sky. Meaning that everything you've ever done is written down in your lifetime, past lifetimes, and everyone's everything is recorded somewhere. That's typically how you'll find it described. I think, again, that is our human brain trying to organize something that is so far out of our lenses that we can truly understand. So we're trying to put it into human form. I don't think it's a bad way to think about it. I just think that that's our human self trying to put a label on it, which is also totally fine if that feels good to you. So I do believe that I don't picture it as a library. I'm not saying it's not, that's just not how I picture it. I personally don't visually see a lot yet. That's not my first way of interacting with spirit. So maybe that's also why I don't picture it as a library. However, I just want you to know, even if you cannot visually see, through your third eye, whatever, blah, blah, all that, you can still work with the Akashic Records. A lot of teachings you will find, they're visualizing and they're seeing things when they go into their records, which is super cool, and it can happen. It does happen to me sometimes. However, that is not my strongest way, like I said, that I interact with all things spiritual. So just know, even if you can't visually see with your third eye, you can still do so much in the Akashic Records. I do think that things are recorded in our records. However, I don't think it's literally everything. I think it's everything with an emotional charge. So for example, I once heard a mentor use this example, if you, and say you were in a past lifetime and you're sweeping the floor, or in this lifetime, you're sweeping the floor and you're just sweeping it neutral. You're not really thinking anything about it. You're just sweeping the floor because the floor has to be swept. I don't think that's going to be recorded in your records, personally. I'm not saying I'm totally right. This is just how I think about it. Now, if you are sweeping the floor, past life or this lifetime, and the whole time you're just thinking about how horrible it is that you always have to sweep the floor and that you're trapped in your house or you can't have a job or you're just all these emotions and thoughts that are running through your mind while you're sweeping the floor, and that means something, the sweeping the floor means something to you because this is all you can do. This is your whole life, just cleaning the house and sweeping the floor. That, I think, does get stored in your Akashic Records because it has that emotion with it. So big life events, definitely stored in your Akashic Records. Anything that spikes your emotions, whether it's a good or a bad emotion, I think gets stored in our Akashic Records. Now, Akashic Records can be really fun to go for Akashic Records readings. This is not typically how I work with the records, but I have gone for readings where people, I would think it's similar to a psychic reading where they can tell you about your past lives and they can tell you just all this interesting stuff. I do think that's super cool. However, that is not how I personally typically work in the records. I think it's fun, but usually when I'm in the records, it's more for spiritual work and healing and clearing. So if I have a client session, if you have a session with me, you're not going to be probably blown away by all the things that I'm like, oh yeah, and you've had this life and you've had this life and blah, 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 blah. All that's super cool, but that's not how I work with the records. I will, in my course, be teaching how to read your records, but the focus is going to be the way that I interact with my records, which is really doing clearing work for yourself and clearing work for your ancestral line. So the records, since they're sort of recording all of these emotional charges, a lot of that, especially, I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you probably believe in past lives, but so this lifetime, past lifetimes, all of these experiences that we have had get layered on top of each other, and they get stored in the Akashic records. They also get stored in your body, and they get stored in this sort of web that, in my mind, makes this just huge sort of entangled mess over everything. And within that is a lot of trauma and drama, of being human, mainly. That's usually what I mainly work with in the Akashic records, are human trauma drama. And what happens, in my opinion, is over time, meaning over lives, those things just keep building on each other. And you are now seeing, in this current lifetime, you're not just seeing through a lens of your life from 0 to however old you are. You're seeing through a lens of all your past lives. And typically, getting goosebumps, this is important for a lot of you. Typically, what you're seeing through is not the happy times. I do think the happy times get stored in the records, but when you have this lens that you're seeing through, it's usually you're seeing through the trauma and the drama of everything you've experienced until now. Example, say you have this weird fear of water and you've talked to your parents, you've talked to whoever's been around you, you've never had a bad experience with water, yet you have dreams that you're drowning and you're afraid to go wherever. That's you seeing through the lens of your past lives. It's stuck in your Akashic records, and it's stuck there until you clear it. Now, do I think people can clear things in their records without literally learning how to do it through your records? Yes. I think we're set up, if we're taking the aligned action steps. I do think there's so many people that are clearing their records without even trying. If you've been on any kind of journey and you feel like you've sort of overcome something, or you've let something big go that used to really trigger you, I think you're clearing up your Akashic records. I just think if we do it consciously and on purpose, that we can clear it up a lot faster and a lot wider, meaning not just for you, but for forward generations and backwards generations. The other thing to notice is if you have like a family cycle, any cycle, but especially you can see it in like your family. So if something happened to you, that also happened to your mom, that also happened to her mom, that also happened to her mom, whether it's abuse, whether it is self-love, like not having it, or money issues, a lot of times those cyclical things are Akashic records cycles that you and your family are trapped on. Especially when it doesn't make sense to this lifetime, when you're feeling a certain way and it makes no sense for what you've actually experienced in this lifetime. I believe it's because we see through a lens, not see literally, but we're living through a lens of all these lifetimes of just junk getting like shoved on top of us. So what we can do with the Akashic records is we can focus on clearing and healing, and we can work through our own stuff first. So like, are there ties between you and a past life that need to be cleared and reconciled? Or maybe like there's people in your life that you just can't stand, and you're like, why can't I stand that person? Like, other people are fine with that person, but I can't stand them. It's probably because you have a cord, and some sort of contract between you and that person's, but not in this lifetime. So again, it doesn't make sense for this lifetime, but you have stuff you can do. So we can do the energetic work between us and that person without having to even tell that person in human form that we're doing this work, because we're doing it from our perspective. So we can do the reconciling on our side, the clearing, the healing on our side, and then the other person sort of has that opportunity a little unconsciously, but a lot of times they will unconsciously figure it out because you've cleared it. You've gotten rid of the junk that allows that person to sort of just drop the story. So any other ones I want to talk about? So basically, I've made this pendulum mat board where I've put everything that I typically do within the Akashic Records on this board, plus other stuff. So Akashic loops, so clearing those loops that keep happening, cords between people or things, contracts where you, maybe in a past life you said, maybe you were really, really rich and you had a horrible experience because you were really, really rich, and you were like, I'm never going to be rich again. I will never do that again. And you've like uttered that with a big emotional charge. That's stored in your records. And it's going to make you make decisions kind of unconsciously to not get rich again, which is keeping you from, so what we can do, we can clear out that past life story, because being rich doesn't have to mean bad things happen, but you may be living through a lens where bad things happen if I get too much money, and you're unconsciously sabotaging yourself so you don't get too much money. So we can clear that. We can release and get rid of that vow that you made that you will never have money again. And then it kind of, basically, the way I think about it is we're clearing up all the trauma drama that has happened before this moment in time now. It could be from this lifetime. You could spend however much time you need just clearing up this one lifetime. You may have had a very traumatic lifetime this lifetime. That is just as important to clear up as like your cool past lives where you were, who knows, in Egypt or whatever, in Texas, who knows. But this life, you can do the same work from this lifetime, and you can go at it at an energetic level. And I like, when I teach and when I do it, I use my pendulum, and it helps with if we're not quite sure if we believe the messages we're receiving, especially if I'll, of course, be giving this to everyone in my course. I'll probably make a few more too. But you can use your pendulum with the mat, and you can figure out, okay, what am I most meant to work on right now if you don't know? If you know, if it's from this lifetime, you can just work on those things from this lifetime. Okay, I don't want this video to be too long. So there is my short and sweet perspective on the Akashic Records and sort of how I work with the Akashic Records. I could probably talk on this for like 24 hours, but I'm gonna leave it at this for now. If you have questions or you're intrigued, check out the comment section or message me back. But I am very much looking forward to bringing this to those of you that feel called to receive it. There are so many of you who are here, not just for yourself. You might not know yet, or you might. Typically, people who come find their way to my teachings and my work and my sessions are typically what a lot of people call chain breakers. And what that means is part of your sort of life assignment coming here is to quite literally break chains of your ancestral patterns. So maybe you came here to break a pattern of abuse. Maybe you came here to break a pattern of poverty. Maybe you came here to break a pattern of how the adults in your family line parent the children. There are so many chains that are being broken right now, and you, if you're finding yourself here, are probably one of those people who are like, it stops with me, and you're going to go forward with more compassion, more love, more self-love, more love for everyone else. And this is just one way that we can do this, energetically break those chains. Okay, it's big work, but you are here on purpose. You found this video on purpose. You did not watch 15 minutes, it was just 15:15, which feels special. You did not watch this by accident. So welcome, I'm so glad you're here, and yeah, I'm excited for where you're headed on this journey.